In a significant development following the high-stakes Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska, today, Russian President Vladimir Putin revealed that US-Russia trade has grown by 20% ever since Donald Trump returned back to power. Speaking after the meeting in Anchorage, Putin said that this uptick underscores deepening ties and that there are several areas of possible cooperation.
Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a growth of 20%. As I've said, we have a lot of dimensions for joint work. It is clear that the U.S. and Russian investment and business cooperation has tremendous potential. Russia and the U.S. can offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration. We see that Arctic cooperation is also very possible.
And so while Trump enjoys favorable trade with Russia, he simultaneously is now threatening other countries of secondary tariffs for continuing to trade with Russia. He recently slapped a 25% levy on India, one of Russia's largest oil buyers, framing it as a big blow to Moscow's economy. India called the move unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. Further, after the meeting in Alaska, Putin and Trump, in fact, said that he will hold off on tariffs. But what does it really signal for India, and how does it really read the double standards of the United States? For countries like India and other buyers of Russian oil, here are big takeaways from the summit. Number one, there is no formal breakthrough. The meeting was a picture-perfect, but ultimately lacked concrete action on Ukraine, peace or sanctions. Tariff ambiguity persists. Now, Trump hinted that relief from retaliatory punishments might arrive in weeks ahead for nations like India, yet there is no guarantee. And India's strategic balancing act has now intensified. New Delhi remains cautious, navigating US pressure and deep-rooted energy ties with Russia. So it was a diplomatic tambourine and not drumbeat. The summit was more of a staged PR moment than a signal of shifting alliances or any substantive realignments. To sum it up, President Trump leaned into photogenic diplomacy while selectively wielding economic power. He celebrates record trade with Russia, yet punishes energetic engagements from other allies. And if this isn't selective hypocrisy, what is? And that's the story tonight, the focus of our show tonight. Joining us is Ambassador Jayant Das Gupta, who's a former ambassador to WTO. Also with us is Major General Rajan Kochhar. He's a strategic and defense expert. Also on the show today is Adit Kothari, foreign affairs and geopolitical experts. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out for joining me on the show here. I want to come to you first, Ambassador. You joined us just a couple of hours ago, where you spoke and we both spoke about how it appears that Donald Trump could take a U-turn as far as that 25% penalty is concerned. But, that fresh reaction coming from Putin that we've been able to highlight, and that is US and Russia continue to have strong ties. In fact, their trade has been growing about 20% since Donald Trump came back to power. This is blatant hypocrisy.
Indeed, it is very difficult to find some consistency in what President Trump says and does towards different countries, because China is an even larger buyer of Russian oil than India. And there are other smaller buyers like Turkey and a few others. And even the Europeans, as has been pointed out, if you take oil and gas together, they buy more than 20% of what Russia sells worldwide. So there is a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of inconsistent behavior on the part of President Trump in terms of his tariff impositions.
Absolutely. And Major General Rajan Kochhar, this is exactly what we've been saying. This is Trump double speak. On one hand, China gets a 90-day extension. On the other hand, India does not get any. And while the tariffs are set to kick in from 27th of August, just a week or two before that, Donald Trump is now saying that he's going to perhaps relook at those tariffs.
Thank you, Shweta. Always a pleasure to be on the show. My reading is slightly different because we have a foreign affairs expert here. He would correct me if I'm wrong in my assessment. President Trump's levying on 25% extra tariff to India as a penalty for buying oil from Russia, I don't think that's the actual reason. Because last 3 years we have been buying oil from Russia, and also the US administration knows about it. And even after Trump took over as the president of the United States, this fact was known to him all through. And there were no strong statements emanating from Russia to suggest that India should stop this. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, there were a number of meetings at the strategic level, uh, and especially the defense sector, if I would relate it to. And we were talking to each other in a very, very congenial kind of environment. So, why this change all of a sudden? I can attribute it to a very large extent to what happened during Operation Sindoor. And I have a conviction. You see, after all, if you study, I am a PhD in a subject called emotional intelligence. So I would like to use my expertise on this to try to understand what kind of man, Trump is, and why he behaves the way he behaves. So
Have to know too,
it's
Major General. I think he's an enigma to many people who've been trying to read
yes,
him.
yes. So I'm just trying to understand this man, and I'm trying to analyze as a case study for myself in my own study. So I come to a conclusion that he needs an ego massage after every 7 days, 8 days, because the kind of statements he gives, he wants people around here who have to say that. Uh, I remember Hitler. I'll just though the comparison is not that much, I still remember as a child watching movies when Hitler used to walk in. People used to say, "Hail Hitler." So something like "Hail Trump." So whenever Trump walks in with a statement, he has to be appreciated. And the moment you don't appreciate him, then you become a bad man. And the ceasefire episode, I'm just actually coming to that. I'm on a slightly serious note now. The ceasefire episode has actually you put him off a lot. And why should a man? My reading is, why should a man repeat 31 times that he has done the ceasefire? If the president of the United States has to say it once, I think it is enough.
Right.
But why he's repeating every moment? Even 2 days back, also, I just saw a newspaper report in which the same ceasefire, like
Yeah,
old
so
broken
clearly,
record.
clearly he wants some
Yes,
credit for it, and India has not been
yes,
giving
wants a
giving that
credit, and
credit.
we have to understand Trump in order to play the right cards. I think Pakistan has done it better than us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that perhaps demands a greater discussion on the topic. But Adit Kothari, I have to come to you. I think Trump knows what Trump does. But right now, when he says that he's going to relook at the tariffs on, and he was speaking particularly in reference to China with a Fox News interviewee, I have to ask you, is he perhaps also going to relook tax for India? And is it because there is some breakthrough in conversations with Russia? Is it merely that he now feels that he's confident and he may be able to broker peace? What exactly is prompting him? At the same time, we've also seen pressure building on him from his own political party and many of his own allies now saying that he has distanced India as a strategic ally. So in your assessment, what made him relook, or what's going to make him relook at these tariffs?
So the one reason why the US cannot have secondary tariffs on China is because of the sheer amount of dependency on China from a supply chain perspective. If secondary tariffs were to come onto China, the economic whiplash in the United States would be of epic proportions. When you compare that to vis-a-vis India, which exports roughly about $90 billion or so of goods and services to United States, out of which certain section is IT sector, which is currently not under that tariff bowl sector. Then you have pharmaceuticals, then you have canned foods, and then you have auto gear parts, etc. So those items will have economic whiplash, but at the end of the day, it's something which the American people will be able to sort of easily not easily, but will be able to withstand. So
Okay.
that is the way
So
he
are
was
you
basically
saying
going
perhaps he
about
could
it.
be selective going forward, may look at additional tariffs on
Well,
China but not on India?
Well, so the idea of using India as a case study was basically to try and prompt Vladimir Putin to come onto the table, on a negotiating table, saying that, if you do not play ball with us, if you play hard ball with us, we can go after every other country that you
Right.
are currently trading with. So the economic cost would be of higher proportions. You already have an economy which is on a downtrend. Your oil and gas sales have been plummeting over the course of the last few months. And if more trading partners were to sort of treat you as a untouchable, you will face internal crisis,
So
which
perhaps the
will have
relationship with
severe.
India would just be collateral damage? Is that how fragile it is at the moment? That he's ready to, bait his relationship with India so as to have better relations with Russia or get Russia on the table?
Yeah, if you've read his book, The Art of Dealing, that is the way he basically envisions how to go about dealing with various peoples and sort of difficult stakeholders.
Right.
So that is the way Trump basically views, in a very myopic sense.
Okay.
Sure.
As we try and decode Trump policies and we try and decode the Alaska summit, we have expert voices joining us on what it means to be Donald Trump and what does the Alaska summit have in it for India.